Welcome back to the 8th season of the Mazda MX-5 Cup Benelux, a season that takes us across the Netherlands, into Belgium and into Germany as well in a few weeks' time, where we'll be on the GT World Challenge Europe support bill at the Nürburgring. But for now, it's the third meeting of the season and our first of two circuit Assen. This will also be the host of our season finale in October. A 4.5 kilometre circuit, 2.8 miles in old money. The Cathedral of Speed playing host to the third round of the championship. The original Dutch Tourist Trophy circuit was 25 kilometres long. This layout that we've become familiar with, built in 2006. We are just outside the city of Assen, the capital of the Drenthe province, in the northeastern corner of the Netherlands. And the cars making their way out onto the circuit for their reconnaissance laps towards the pre-grid and then into the formation lap. And we will have 25 minutes of racing, the first of two races this weekend. It's the first double header of the season after triple headers in both Zandvoort and Zolder at the first two meetings of the season. And we do have some wildcard appearances, including the car that is going to be starting on pole position for this reverse grid race, which is Rocco Coronel, the son of touring car legend Tom Coronel. And young Rocco, just 15 years old and already making a name for himself in car racing. The reigning Ginetta Junior champion, racing in Spanish F4 this season as well, but also combining that with some BMW competition, the M230i Cup, and making his MX-5 Cup debut here this weekend. And he's starting on reverse grid pole position. It's a top 10 reverse grid race from qualifying. So the VDH Autosport driver will be lining up at the head of the field, and he will be starting alongside another wild card, which is Thierry Glassinger from DDK Motorsports, the Luxembourg driver, who we saw an awful lot of last season. He announced that that was going to be his last full season of racing, but making a wildcard appearance for Delano Di Catala's team. And so the cars already making their way onto that pre-grid. And we will be going very shortly for 25 minutes of racing. In the championship, it is just 3 points that separate the championship leader, Wouter Janssen, from Marcel Dekker, the four-time champion who took 2 wins last time out at Zolder, and in fact in the last 4 races has not finished outside of the top 2. So Marcel Dekker did a really great job to close down quite a significant championship lead that Wouter Janssen had last time out at Zolder. Janssen, a 3-time winner already this season. And Noah Maton, the other driver to have claimed victory so far this season. But Noah Maton starting way down in the grid, just 17th for the driver who had come out very strongly in the first meeting of the season at Zandvoort. A flurry of podium finishes and also 3 rookie class victories as well. But Noah Maton with some work to do in the 2 races for this weekend. Had to come up from the grid slightly higher up the grid in Zolder, though, but even harder job for him this time. That is the car that is starting on the front row of the grid alongside Rocco Coronel. Although I'm not sure if there were some post-race penalties there, because it didn't look like Thierry was lining up necessarily in that grid spot. So we'll get confirmation of the grid shortly. But a beautiful day at the circuit Assen. There has been some classic single-seater machinery just out on the circuit on the racing days here at Assen. So some old F1 machinery and some old F2 cars as well. So we take a look at the grid of 23 MX-5 cars, 183 brake horsepower from a 2-litre engine. They are almost completely standard, although there is of course some race readiness involved, so not just the roll cages and the Hankook tyres, but also some cooling and reinforcement on the engine. It's an in-track chassis with uniball suspension and additional brake cooling as well, just to make sure that they are fully race ready, because they do go through the ringer a little bit, particularly around a very fast circuit like this one. We have a lot of high speed action in this one. You can take a look at Sem Karsten there, the 22 car, Sim Racing convert, who's started racing in BMW the Compact Cup. So it looks like there have been some post-race, post-qualifying changes, because it's actually Thomas Backer, the co-owner of the TBD Racing Squad, who's starting on reverse grid pole position for this one, alongside Rocco Coronel, who will still be on the front row of the grid. Then Mats de Vij for Decker Racing and Stein Hera for Ferry Monster Autosport. Mats van Rooyen, who was on the podium last time out in Zolder, alongside Leon Versveld, another wildcard entry. Delano de Catela, the man who's third in the championship, goes from 7th on the grid, alongside the man who's second in the championship, Marcel Decker, Christian Klein, and then Wouter Janssen, our championship leader, who's won both reverse grid races so far this season, going from 10th. Chris Schutert, podium finisher earlier in the season, alongside Sam Jongen, Javier van der Schoot, and Jaden Grutens on the 7th row of the grid. Jack de Kock and Noah Maton going from 16th on the grid, alongside Henk Valk Jr. and Luke Valk, so the two Valk brothers, the sons of Henk Valk Sr., two VDH Autosport teammates alongside each other. And then it's Serhiy Volobiev, the Ukrainian driver, alongside his countryman Milano Kohan, Ivan Yeramenko, Sem Karsten, and Thierry Glassinger, who is rounding out the grid. So Thierry Glassinger, who was initially 9th in qualifying, perhaps has had some laps deleted there, or a post-race penalty, a post-qualifying penalty, excuse me, that we weren't aware of, because he is now lining up at the back of the grid. So the cars ready to go on their formation lap. The green flag is waved, and an opportunity to get some temperature into the Hankook tyres before a standing start. So that means the Thomas de Backer car, the number 97, which is the blue machine that will be on our right-hand side. So Thomas de Backer, the Belgian driver, a 3-time champion of the Fiesta Cup Benelux Championship, and co-owner with TBD Racing with Eddie de Backer. So that's the car that will be starting on pole position alongside Rocco Coronel, then the 15-year-old Janetta Junior champion. As we say, the son of Tom Coronel, and also his mother, Pauline Zwart, a racer in her own right as well, racing in the Supercar Challenge, and in fact was teammates with Tom Coronel in the European Touring Car Championship. And her father, Klaus Zwart, the founder of the Ascari automotive brand. And Rocco Coronel actually very busy this weekend, because he's also doing the Supercar Challenge in one of Hein Koopman's many BMW M6s, alongside Max Janssen, their driver coach. And that car will actually be starting on pole position for the Supercar Challenge race a little bit later on today as well. Two of the VMAX supported events here this weekend. So on the formation lap, see the blue TBD Racing machine, and then it is the green windshield trim and wing mirrors for Rocco Coronel. And then Mats de Vij in the number 19 machine. That's the white and green car from Decker Racing. That will be third on the grid. And Stein Hera, pole sitter back in Zolder, quite being able to show the same rich vein of form that we saw a few weeks ago across the border in Belgium. So 25 minutes of racing to come. The only race of the day for the Mazdas. They are back out tomorrow afternoon as well for their second race of the day, for the grid of the weekend, the grid that is set by qualifying. And then in a few weeks' time, heading over to Nürburgring, a trip into the Eifel region on the GT World Challenge support bill. And I will say it was looking very, very close. Thomas de Backer, a second off of pole position. So those top 11 cars separated by just over a full second. And in fact, the pole position for tomorrow was settled by only 23 thousandths of a second between Wout Janssen and Christian de Klein. So expecting those cars at the lower end of the top 10 to try and make their way through. And Wout Janssen has won both of the top 10 reverse grid races so far this season. That's 2 of his 3 wins. But it's not like he's been starting up at the head of the field. For those, he's had to fight his way through. The Tachyon Motorsport driver that comes here as the championship leader, the reigning MX-5 champion as well. So the cars make their way back out onto the grid. Slightly curved starting position for some of the drivers, particularly towards the rear of the field, but the green flag is waved at the back. And 23 Mazda MX-5s ready to go racing here in the 3rd meeting of the season. We are racing in Assen, and that looked like a very nice start indeed by Mats de Vij, and it looks like he's going to be challenging Coronel for 2nd place. Stein Hera making that 3 wide for 2nd place, but there's no doubting who's got the lead. It is Thomas de Backer. Wide goes Stein Hera on the exit of the hard box, but everybody keeping it very neat and tidy as we make our way through this sequence of tightening right-handers that opens up the lap here at Assen. Another car going wide in the middle of the Osnabrücken right-hander, but Thomas de Backer very clearly leading the way, and it does look like a change for 2nd position with Mats de Vij making his way past Rocco Coronel. So as they make their way out of Struben for the first time and onto the Wien Slang, the TBD racing machine of Thomas de Backer, the Belgian driver, leading into the Ruschenhoek, but not by very much at all, because he is being very closely followed by Mats de Vij in that Decker racing machine, the 19-year-old who was a runner-up to Marcel Decker in the MX-5 Championship a couple of years ago. And it looks like Stein Hera trying to come around the outside. Oh, for 3rd position now on Rocco Coronel going into debut. That's a very brave move indeed. And Marcel Decker in the green nose number 1 machine, the reigning champion, trying to fight his way through on the young 15-year-old rookie as well. And Wout Janssen, the black nose number 34 car, now fighting his way through as well as they make their way into Hoogerheide for the first time. This is why they call it the Cathedral of Speed, because this is the part of the track where you really have to be brave and beautiful. Making their way into the Timmer chicane now for the first time. See, Marcel Decker's made that move, but Wout Janssen wasn't quite able to get around Rocco Coronel there, the 23 machine. So at the end of the first lap then, it is de Backer who leads, Thomas de Backer, but now Mats de Vij coming for the move on the inside into the hard box. And at the start of the 2nd lap of racing, we've got a change for the lead, but wide goes the Decker Racing driver, and that allows de Backer to come back through and also opens up the door for Stein Hera to come through into Magic as well. So Mats de Vij left turn 1 with the lead. He's now down in 3rd position, 1 up and 2 down for the young Dutch driver, and Marcel Decker already up into 4th position. Rocco Coronel from the front row of the grid in 5th position, then Wout Janssen, Leon van Versveld, Chris Schutter, Christian de Klein and Sam Yongyan, your top 10. Here comes Stein Hera now trying to make a move for the lead. Going into the Ruschenhoek, he's got the wrong line through the first element of that, so Thomas de Backer is able to hang on to the lead for another few meters. This is great action in the early stages of this race, and the Ferry Monster Autosport driver sitting into 2nd position for now as Decker goes for a move for 3rd position now on his customer car, in fact. And so Mazda MX-5's got to be really careful not to run into his team boss and former Max-5 rival. Decker, the reigning champion, does go through into third place, and Coronel spies a gap there on the inside, pounces on it, and Wouter Janssen trying to take advantage as well, even takes a little bit of the dirt on the inside. Great stuff there from the championship leader, and still though has not got that move consolidated, because it's pack racing here in MX-5 Cup, and so if you try and make a move and it doesn't quite work, then you are going to be pounced upon. And Wouter Janssen carrying some speed around the outside of the Hankook, which is very brave indeed, with the inside line for the Timmer chicane. Still not able to make that move stick though on Mats de Vij. So it's all change behind Thomas de Backer, but it's still the Belgian who leads at the end of the second lap of racing. More cars going wide out of the Haarbocht, but nothing concerning the leaders at the head of the field. Got Christian de Klein there in the black number 69 car, just ahead of Sam Jongen. Another of our wildcard entries, the 2023 MX-5 Benelux champion, and de Klein gets pushed out wide coming through Struben, and so that cost him a whole heap of places. We've had a change for the lead though. Steinhera goes through to the head of the field, ahead of Thomas de Backer, out of the Wienslang and now into the Hankook, and Marcel Decker has arrived on the scene as well. So Decker trying to find his way through into the podium places. Remember, Decker, winner of the last 2 races, has not finished outside the top 2 in the last 4 races in the MX-5 Cup Benelux Championship. Trying to keep that streak going and close in even more on his championship rival. To the inside for second place goes the reigning champion now, but Thomas de Backer not taking that line down and holds the line into Mandeveen. So that was a big dive on the inside into debut for Marcel Decker in his eponymous team, the green-nosed machine that's been running very well in the last 2 meetings of the season. Now trying to come around the outside. He's not got a lot of space there into the Hankook, and wide goes Deck, has to gather the car up, so through goes Coronel, through goes de Vij, and will Wouter Janssen find his way through on the outside of the chicane as well? Well, in fact, the championship leader ended up cutting a little bit of the chicane there, I think, and so Marcel Decker, having been fighting for second place just a few seconds ago, now finds himself down in 6th position. But it's Steinhera who leads, going on to lap 3 for the first time in this race. Looks like another battle for 3rd position here, with Mats de Vij recouping some of those places he lost earlier on, having getting forced out, and so spies a gap on the inside of Rocco Coronel, coming through the first few right-handers at Ossenbrücken. And so de Vij back up into 3rd position. You can see a replay of the start. Lovely getaway from Thomas de Backer from the pole position slot, but it was Mats de Vij who was challenging on the outside. Steinhera in the black and red car on the outside, making it very briefly 3 wide, and he's the car that went wide around the Haarbocht for the first time of asking, and it was Henk Valk Jr. in other of the VDH Autosport cars that went wide through the Ossenbrücken on the first lap. Everybody keeping it very neat and tidy through those first few corners. Now, that was Noah Maton going wide on the exit of Struben, though, on the first lap. And this was Wouter Janssen getting squeezed onto the dirt beyond the curbing on the inside of, I think that was Mandeveen, and into the Dukersloot. Brilliant stuff in the opening stages of the race. Oh, we got 3 wide a little bit further back, and the 21 of Luke Valk going through the middle of the 33, so Terry Glassinger and Sergei Volobuev into the Hankook. That's a very bold move indeed. So 4 laps completed by the race leader, Marcel Decker, trying to regain some ground here. And dramas for Mats van Rooyen, though. The rookie class driver, another of the VDH Autosport cars. That's a little bit further down the field. Unfortunately, we've got Hankook Jr. into pit lane, though, at the end of that previous lap. And so some sort of drama for young Valk. Steinhera doing the fastest lap of the race last time around. That's an extra bonus point, as we can see Hankook into the pit lane, and well, seemingly no rush to get that car back out onto the racetrack, so that looks pretty terminal. Now, Thomas de Backer is not letting Steinhera out of his sight here. It's only a couple of tenths of a second that separate the two cars. And we saw that move from Marcel Dekker on Rocco Coronel. That was for 4th position, and so the reigning champion has made up 2 of those places since he went wide through the Ramshoek a couple of laps ago, first on Wout Janssen, then on Rocco Coronel. Steinhera getting a little bit sideways out in the lead of the race, and Thomas de Backer trying up, down and around at different lines through Mandeveen and around the Dukersloot. So back up to Hoog High, the little kink here, right and then left, and then into the Ramshoek, a very fast and fearsome corner that leads into the braking zone of the Timmer Chicane, named after the Dutch motorcycle racer. And here getting it sideways. This is what you love about MX-5 racing. You really wrestle these cars around, but Hera still leads at the end of the 5th lap of racing. Still 20 minutes left on the clock, but as you can see, Mats de Vij is going very strongly indeed, and very much with that leading group. I think I was mistaken earlier. Mats de Vij has not been on the podium so far. Was getting him confused with Mats van Rooyen last time out in Zolder, and so Mats de Vij, very much his best performance of the season so far. His best finish so far this season has been a 6th place in Zolder. So definitely seeing an awful lot more of him. As we see a little bit further back, Jack de Kock trying to make a move on Mihailo Kohan for 14th position. The battles all the way through the field, as we also see Sam Jongen going toe-to-toe with Leon van Versveld. No, it's with Javier van der Schoot, excuse me, for a spot inside the top 10. And also Sem Karsten going door handle to door handle with Jaden Groetiens. Jaden in his 1st year of car racing. Sam Karsten in his 4th year now, I believe, having come out of sim racing. Christian Decline doing the fastest lap of the race last time around, pretty randomly, at 1:56.239. That's an extra bonus championship point, by the way. Christian Decline, another driver in his 1st year of car racing. Noah Maton, meanwhile, has made his way up into 8th position from 16th on the grid. So Maton doing a nice job, and is the lead rookie driver at the moment, ahead of Christian Decline. Change for 2nd place, though, with Mats de Vij finding his way through on Steinhera, who in fact has lost the lead, and Thomas de Backer now back at the head of the field, but Steinhera retaking that 2nd place spot, and Marcel Dekker now arriving on the scene as well. Looks like Wout Janssen has made his way through into 5th position as well, ahead of Rocco Coronel, and is going with Dekker to join this lead pack. In fact, Dekker now into 3rd position, a great run down the Veenslang, now going for 2nd place on Steinhera. I think spooked him a little bit there, going in. And suddenly, the reigning champion was alongside him, and Steinhera, having led the race, now finds himself in 5th position. It can change so quickly in these races, and Dekker was 4th at the start of the lap, now going for the lead on Thomas de Backer. These two team bosses, the Dekker Racing boss and the DBH boss, TBD, sorry, going toe-to-toe at the head of the field. Brilliant stuff once again. Stein here from the lead down to 5th position, as we got a replay a little bit further back with another great move here from Jaden Gruchins getting around Serhiy Volobuev. Unfortunately, it did not pay off because Volobuev is back through into 17th position. But let's keep our eye on what's happening at the head of the field, because this is great stuff. Thomas de Backer leads into the Timmer chicane once again. But now it's Marcel Dekker who's in hot pursuit of the wildcard entry, with Wouter Janssen now in 3rd position, the championship leader. So top 2 in the championship, running running 2nd and 3rd at the moment. Janssen trying to change that. So he spied a gap on the inside of Marcel Dekker through Magic and now into the Usabruken. They get down to the slowest point on the circuit at Struben, turn 5. Yellow flags being displayed behind them at turn 1. As that looks like Noah Maton. Jack de Kock. Going wheel to wheel with Thierry Glassinger there through the Ramshoek. And I believe this might be why we've got yellows at turn 1. And it is Jack de Kock who's gone round on the exit of the Haarbox, but seems to have quickly got round. No, I spoke too soon, because now he's off at turn 3 at Usabruken. So I wonder if something was broken there, maybe some contact in his various battles. Well, it seems like just a little mistake there, perhaps picked up some rubbish on the tyres, or maybe overheated the tyres in that spin at turn 1, and then a couple of corners later finds himself off the road and in the gravel trap. But it's back out onto the asphalt now, and taking time to clean the tyres this time. So no need for a safety car intervention, because that TBD car has found its way out onto the track by itself. Side by side for the lead now through Hoger Hyde, with Marcel Dekker to the outside of the Ramshoek. The Dekker Racing driver just has a nose ahead on the outside line, and that will give him the line into the Timmer chicane. Brilliant stuff there, but keeping it tight, very tight to the inside was Thomas de Backer. And so they run side by side, and look at that, the hand signals there, the communication between the two drivers. Let's work together here. We've got to try and get away from these guys, because it's going to be very difficult otherwise. And so he tries to brave it out around the outside of the hard bot, but Marcel Dekker takes the lead. To the inside goes Wouter Janssen, trying to go through into 2nd place, maybe even into the lead as well. There's a gap on the inside there that Dekker's left, and so Janssen to the inside at Usabruken, but Dekker with the inside line into Struben, enter the number 97 as well of Thomas de Backer, is trying to hang on to, at the very least, 2nd place. And who else has joined this party now? Chris Shooter in the number 26 car's kind of come out of nowhere as well. So this is brilliant, absolutely brilliant stuff. It's 7 cars fighting for the lead now. Still, it is not over for 2nd place, and de Backer finally is able to shut the door on Wouter Janssen, and that then gives the Steinhera car a run to the outside as well, but Janssen's wise to that one. So we've suddenly got 7 fighting for the lead. I would actually, let's make that 8, because Christian Decline is in this as well. Oh, that looked like a very close moment indeed for Christian Decline. The break to the inside of Mandeveen. Look at that, he's bringing Noah Maton with him as well. So maybe now it's 9 for the lead. Let's see. Side by side again into this section of the racetrack, and this time Dekker does not argue with that one. And so Thomas de Backer retakes the lead rather brilliantly through the Hoge Hyde and into the Ramshoek. And so at the end of lap 9 here in the first race of the weekend, it's going to be Thomas de Backer back at the head of the field. So much momentum he had out of the Dukersloot, and unlike a lap ago, Dekker choosing not to brave it out around the outside of the Ramshoek. unfortunately for Mazda MX-5, though, he's going to have a 5-second time penalty for track limits infringements in this one. Also the number 11, the Hankook car, but that's not going to make any difference to him. He's still in the pit lane, as is Mats van Ruin and Leon van Vertsveld as well. So we've lost a couple of cars in this one, but Mazda MX-5, who's in 6th position with a 5-second time penalty for track limits. So that's going to put a bit of a dampener on what has been his best performance of the season, you have to say. Christian de Klein making a little bit of forward progress. He's now in 6th position ahead of Mats MX-5. Noah Maton trying to show his nose as well. But it's Thomas de Backer who leads. Then Marcel Dekker, second in the championship. Then Wouter Janssen, your championship leader. Steinhera in 4th position there as well. Dekker, well, it's either looking to the inside or defending from Wouter Janssen going into the debut left-hander at turn 9. You see a little wide moment there from Dekker. Lovely up and under here from Wouter Janssen. This is where he was on the dirt and the grass earlier on in the race and has still got half his car alongside his championship rival as they make their way out of the Duke Sloot and now into 2nd place. He can pull ahead and Dekker's losing out here because through has gone Steinhera as well. Chris Schutter trying to come around the outside in the white and red machine as well. And Dekker, this is what I mean about opening up the door. This is why Thomas de Backer wanted to work together with Marcel Dekker and pull away from these guys, because you lose one place and suddenly you lose 4. So Dekker now down into 5th position after Wouter Janssen opened up the door there for his rivals, and Janssen now going for the lead and making Thomas de Backer defend into the hard box. And in fact Dekker goes wide, and so there was just enough gap on the inside there through Magic for Wouter Janssen to go through and take the lead now. So the Tachyon Motorsport driver, the championship leader, hits the front. Steinhera trying to find his way through into 2nd place as well, but Thomas de Backer with the line into Struben, and in fact it's Hira who goes wide but keeps his foot to the floor, controversially, because that's going to give him a lot of momentum down the Wienslang to try and hang on to 2nd place here. I'm sure Thomas de Backer won't be too impressed by that one. But in fact, by the time they get into the Ruschenhoek, it is the DBD Racing boss who just about gathers up the car and holds on to 2nd place for now. See Chris Schutter with a little bit of bumping and scuffling on the front of his Ferry Monster Autosport car. So we can see where it all went wrong for Marcel Dekker, really. Janssen finds his way through, Dekker loses momentum, and so through goes Hira, through goes Schuttert as well, as Schuttert being quite brave around the outside of the Ramshoek to take 4th position there. And then this is where the lead changed hands. Janssen forcing de Backer to go defensive and monstering the curve through the 2nd right-hander. That did give him the run he needed. So Dekker's back through into 4th position ahead of Chris Schutter now, but he's lost quite a bit of ground to what is now a leading trio, but I imagine one corner of side-by-side will change. Isn't he? He's only a couple of tenths of a second away from the rear of Steinhera. Oh, contact between the top 2 cars with Thomas de Backer there, getting a little nudge into the left rear corner of Wouter Janssen. So through goes Steinhera. Marcel Dekker to the inside now for 3rd position through Usabrucken. And so de Backer down 2 places there after a little bit of contact, it seemed, with the rear of Wouter Janssen's car under braking for the Haarbocht. And so that puts Steinhera up into 2nd position, the Ferry Monster Autosport driver up against the championship leader. Steinhera, your pole sitter, back in Zolder, now going for the lead here, but on the wrong line into Ruschenhoek. Wisely, I think, bails out of that one. What a race it's been so far. Absolutely wonderful side-by-side from these young guns. So still Janssen who leads in that black and white car, the black and red machine of Steinhera, and then the green-nosed Dekker racing car of Marcel Dekker himself, the 4-time champion, the reigning champion. multiple Clio Cup champion as well. That's your top three as it stands, and then the blue TBD racing car of Thomas de Becker. Now this looks like Coronel and his MX-5 debut seems to be coming to a premature end, I'm afraid. Hopefully he'll have better luck in the Supercar Challenge race later on today. He's due to be starting from pole position for that one in his Koopman Racing BMW. Let's keep our eye on the lead battle. 6 minutes to go here. And Wout Janssen having to defend. Well, actually takes up the racing line. And it's Dekker who's taking the tighter line into the Haarbocht, potentially to defend there from Thomas de Becker. And it looked like there was nearly contact again for the front of the number 97 car. Janssen leads them through the right-handers that opens up the lap here for the Cathedral Speed. It's a slightly sluggish start to the lap, but from this moment on, out of Struben, it gets very, very rapid indeed. Down the Veenslang and then a series of high-speed chicanes. Janssen by 0.2 of a second out of the Veenslang. And actually has a good couple of car lengths over Steinhera, so doesn't need to worry too much about an attack into the Hankook. But we can quite confidently say it's 7 for the lead, all the way down to Mats de Vij in... actually, Sam Jongen, actually. Let's say 8 for the lead, because he's only 1.7 back from the race leader. Not sure if that's an error on my timing screen, actually, because I can't actually see Sam in that train of cars. Oh, no, wait, there he is, right at the very back, just behind Mats de Vij there. Similar colour schemes on those two cars, both white and green, hence the brief moment of confusion there. So 8 for the lead, 1.7 seconds covering them with less than 5 minutes to go here. And actually, if it were to stay like this, Mats de Vij would only lose the 1 place, because it's a further 6 seconds back to... And now this is going to change things. Thomas de Becker, 10 seconds worth of time penalties has come through here for track limits infringements. And so the car that's been fighting for the lead, the car that started on pole position, the car that's now side by side with Marcel Dekker going into the Haarbocht, 10 seconds worth of penalties he's going to have to take at the end of the race. That is going to drop him well outside the top 10. Battle, that blue number 97 machine. Also Mats van Rooyen picking up 5 seconds for contact at turn 15. That's into the Ramshoek. Not sure who that was with, but that car is a little bit further down the order anyway, so that's not going to make too much difference to what we're seeing out on the track at the moment. All of a sudden it's spreading out at the head of the field. Wout Janssen looking very comfortable here at the moment, and could well be on course here for a 4th victory of the season and his 3rd consecutive reverse grid race win. Don't know how he keeps doing it. He keeps managing to find his way to the head of the field, and this is very troubling news for everyone else, because that's the car that's going to be starting on pole position for tomorrow's race, having been fastest in qualifying. And so if he's up there at the head of the field from 10th on the grid, then what's he going to do from pole position tomorrow? Side by side a little bit further back, Sam Jongen and Mats de Vij making their way through on Noah Maton. Very impressed by Sam Jongen, who seems to have lost absolutely none of his muster. Sam Jongen, 2023 champion, as we said, now Carrera Cup Deutschland driver with Timo Bernhard's Team 75 outfit, and in fact already a race winner in Porsche One Make competition. So having a good season is Sam Jongen, and enjoying being back out in an MX-5, I'm sure. 2.5 laps to go, 2.5 minutes to go, sorry. So about 2 laps to go, I would say. Wout Janssen with Steinhera for much closer company. Now, Marcel Dekker is about 0.8 of a second away from that top 2, but it won't take much at all for Dekker to close in there. One move from Steinhera, and I'm sure Dekker will be right back on them once again. But this is where you've got to start thinking about when you're going to pounce, when are you going to use that little bit you've been saving in the tank for the last lap to make sure that you steal the victory. I've got to say, Wout Janssen is very good out of Struben, though. Look at the gap he pulls. Here it was on Janssen's tail a corner ago, and by the time they get down the Wienslang into the Ruschenhoek, he's got 4 car lengths over the Dutch driver. So great exits out of the slowest corner on the racetrack for Wout Janssen. Does that mean he's compromised in other areas of the lap, though? At the moment, it's working well for him because he's maintaining that advantage at the head of the field. Still settles to be scored, though, between Chris Schutert and Thomas de Backer. Now, Schutert will inherit this position anyway because de Backer has 10 seconds worth of track limits time penalties. And so, well, now looking at that, the question is whether Decker's going to take second place from Steinhera, because Marcel Decker's suddenly come alive on this lap. I'll be fascinated to see the lap time comparison as they go over the line very shortly to start the final lap of the race. Yes, Janssen's not as strong towards the end of the lap there, so it's 30 seconds left on the clock. This is going to be the final lap, and while Janssen's got strengths out of Struben, it seems like the chasing pack can close him down in that final sector, so could be in for a grandstand finish here. Still battles we had further down as well. Luke Valk and Thierry Glassinger battling away, but this is the leaders. 1 lap to go. Oh, big sideways moment for Steinhera there, going through Saarbrücken, and Marcel Decker needs no second invitation, but the track does not work in his favour there. And so this is great news for Wout Janssen, because the 2 cars behind him are squabbling, and Decker, with the run out of Struben, finds himself in second place now. That little moment there for Steinhera costing him massively. Here he is in the middle of the right-hander. The back end steps out. Decker spies the gap on the inside. Now here it does have the inside line going through Struben, but his exit's so heavily compromised that Decker was able to find his way through. Can Decker close down that gap, though? We know that Janssen's been really strong at that part of the racetrack anyway. So now it's all about whether Decker can close down the gap in the part of the track where Janssen's been struggling compared to everyone else, seemingly, and potentially pounce. But it's amazing. Earlier on in the race, and these 2 guys were fighting their way through the pack, and you think, can they actually do it? And somehow the top 2 in the championship keep finding their way to the front of the field here. And they are in championship order at the moment. Janssen, the championship leader, Decker second in the championship. We're missing Delano Dicker-Taylor, though, I will say, down in 9th position at the moment. Not the kind of race we expected from the DDK Motorsports boss. De Backer side by side, going into the Ramshoek for the final time with other cars. A couple of cars going wide, but who's going to be in second place? Because Steinhera looked like he had a run there into the Timmer chicane. No change there, and so it is a 4th victory of the season for Wout Janssen. The championship leader extends his gap at the head of the field in race 1 here in Assen. Marcel Decker in second place by 0.4 of a second, and Steinhera picking up a podium finish in race 1. Thomas de Backer 4th across the line there, but I think he went across the chicane because he looked like he was kicking up the gravel. We know there was an awful lot of side-by-side going on there. Sam Jongen and his return to the championship by only a couple of hundredths of a second behind Thomas de Backer there, and he will inherit 4th position once de Backer's penalties are applied. So great return to the championship for Jongen. We'll wait for confirmation of penalties and whatnot, because Mats de Vij has got one as well, so Noah Maton should move up to 5th position, I believe, as still the battles will be had all the way down the field and to the checkered flag. But yeah, Thomas de Backer's penalty, that will drop him outside of the top 10. And Mats de Vij should just still sneak a top 10 there. But it is victory number 4 in 2026 for Wout Janssen. Janssen, whose only podium appearances have been on the top step this season, and he extends his championship lead over Marcel Dekker. Dekker maintains his run of consecutive top 2 finishes. So that is his 5th consecutive top 2. Let's run through the final results then. 0.4 of a second in the end between Wouter Jansen and Marcel Dekker. A 4th victory in 2026 for Wouter Jansen. A 4th podium for Marcel Dekker. And Stein Hera picking up his first podium appearance of the season, amazingly, in his Ferry Monster Autosport car. Thomas de Backer 4th across the line, but on corrected times will drop outside of the top 10, giving Sam Jongen a great result on his return to the championship, with Chris Schutert just behind them. 5-second time penalty also going to Mats de Vries, so he'll drop further down the order, meaning Noah Maton should inherit 6th position. Delano de Catela, a difficult race there in 9th position over the line, and Javier van der Schoot completing the top 10, ahead of Thierry Glassinger, Luke Valk, Jaden Grutjans, Mialo Kohan, Serhii Volobuev, Sem Karsten, Ivan Yeremenko, Jack de Kock, after several dramas we saw for him, and then a few cars we saw in pit lane. Christian de Klein, Roku Coronel, Leon van Versveld, Mats van Ruin, and Henk Valk Jr. Those were cars we lost, although Christian de Klein and Mats and Leon van Versveld did make their way back out onto the racetrack.